Right. So I welcome you to lecture number 0, ME603, Advanced Fluid Mechanics at IIT Mandi. Okay, so this course is a core course for Fluid and Thermal Engineering, which is a new MTech program that started this year. So all the FTE MTech people are required to attend it. Okay, FTE. Then it is elective for BTech students. So we have a few BTech students here as well. Do we have any BTech student who's not from mechanical engineering? Do we have any BTech student from mechanical engineering who's not from third year?
Yes, sir. Abhishek Singh from fourth year.
Abhishek, okay. So just you from the fourth year?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Good, good. Anybody adventurous enough to credit the course in second year? No, I can't see roll numbers here, so I can only see names. Good, good to see that we have a good number of people from BTech mechanical as well. So we'll have a good discussion. And then, do we have anyone? We had one person from MSc Physics, right? Uma Shankar?
Yes, sir.
Right. Good. Right. So, Uma Shankar, this is a typically a mechanical engineering course, but I understand that fluid mechanics is very much a part of physics and mathematics as well. So you can talk to me after the class if you have any questions regarding the content and the usefulness it has for you as a budding physicist. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good, good. So good to know you all now. So that's done. We have a total of how many people do we have? 22 people as of now. That's a good number. Now, whenever we have interaction sessions in this course, we'll be using the same link that you have joined for today, the Google Meet link that you have used today to join the meeting. I will share this on Moodle and other forums as well. But in case you are in doubt, use the same. There'll be the same link for all the meetings in this course, which is this one. Okay. We have one teaching assistant in this course. Arpit, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm in the link
Right.
meeting.
Arpit, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Arpit Dwivedi. I am a third year MS student in the multi-phase flow research lab. I work under Gaurav Bhutani sir, and my area of research is modeling of three-phase flows in reactors. Thank you.
Thank you, Arpit. So Arpit is a final year master student, and he has been doing very good research in fluid mechanics. So everything that we are discussing here in this course is something that he understands and works with in his research. So feel free to chat with him about concepts we are discussing in the class. And in case you have any issues related to exams, uploading the marks, slides, videos and so on, I'll suggest you talk to Arpit first, and then you can talk to me if there's still any issues. But Arpit will sort out everything. So he will let me know if there are any issues related to content that I've not sorted. Otherwise, Arpit, I'll give all the content to Arpit, and he will make sure it reaches you in time and at the right place. Okay. So you can, but you can always talk to me if you want. That's completely okay. And for any technical discussions about lectures and the content that we're discussing in the class or the exam syllabus and so on, you feel free to talk to me. Right. Right. So for those who do not know me, my name is Gaurav Bhutani, and I've been teaching at IIT Mandi for the last 5 years. I have been working in the field of fluid mechanics for a very long time. It's been, I can't even remember when was the first time I started learning fluid mechanics, but it definitely is more than 15 years. Right. So that's my bread and butter, fluid mechanics. In terms of work other than teaching, I do research in multi-phase flows, which many of you understand is flows of more than one phase So it could be solids and liquids flowing together, or solid liquids and gases all flowing together. And in our lab, we primarily apply it to problems such as flow of snow avalanches or flow of slurries and mixtures in industrial reactors. Okay, so the physics for these applications is very similar, and hence that is the reason we apply the physics of these kind of flows to different applications in engineering. Okay, I typically use pictures in my introductory slide, as the BTech students may have seen, and I'll do that in the heat transfer course that I'll be teaching them as well this semester. But for this course, I chose particularly not to use pictures and slides to start with, because this course is going to be very, very mathematical. So I want you to get used to seeing the board, right? So if it's extremely necessary for me to show you pictures, I will do that, or I'll send you a link. Otherwise, you'll be expected to, if you need some physical motivation or some understanding from an application point of view, then I'll ask you to explore that yourself, because we will not have any time in this course to discuss applications. Of course, I mean, we'll be solving problems and discussing about those things, but we'll not have time to show you pictures and videos and so on, as we have been doing in the undergraduate classes. But again, I mean, I'm not discouraging you to look at those things by yourself. Please feel free to explore, and you can talk amongst yourselves, or you can talk to me after the class if you're interested in knowing about applications and other multimedia content. Okay. Now, the mode of lecture. So in this course, we'll be using, I'll be recording my lectures and sharing with you. Now, that is, some people have issues with that, but I particularly find that useful, is because when the semester moves ahead, many people start lagging behind. And if we are doing real-time classes, it becomes some sort of a compulsion for the people to attend those classes, and then they always then again have to go back and look at the video. So that time is not available. So what we'll do is, we will have 3 lectures per week, and these lectures will be uploaded on YouTube. Okay. I'll show you the link, and I'll tell you how to find the link for this YouTube playlist that you can use to view the lectures. And then we'll have 1 discussion hour per week. Right. So for an advanced course like this, it's quite nice that you are getting 3 lectures. The lectures will be typically 40 to 50 minutes in time, and 1 discussion hour per week. Okay, so whatever, if there's something that was not very clear in the lectures, or if there's something that you would want to discuss further to enhance your understanding, this discussion session will be useful. So this discussion session is, I mean, don't take it as optional. Don't think that if you understood everything in the lecture, this will be useless. I may talk about things which will complement what was discussed in the lectures, and the main motivation would be what you ask. But it's a master's class. It's a 6-level course. So these courses typically are run in a discussion form. Okay? So in a class, we used to have 2 hours. I mean, the last time I taught this course, we had 2 hours sessions, okay, twice a week. So in those sessions, we used to discuss some, I used to write something on the board, and then we'll be discussing for the next 15-20 minutes. So you'll be expected to catch up what's happening in that week. Okay, so these lectures, I mean, we'll try to have this session. So let's discuss when will be a comfortable time. I would propose a Friday, because that ways you will be able to use the week to view the lectures. Or we can also have it on Monday. That ways you can use the weekend to catch up on the lectures, and any questions can be discussed on a Monday. So it's open for discussion. How many people would prefer it to be a Friday? You can raise your hand. There's a raise hand feature here. Okay, Friday, not Monday. I'll come to Monday. But how many people would like it to be a Friday? Can you raise your hands, please? We have 5 hands for Friday, 6 hands for Friday, 7 hands for Friday, 8 for Friday. Right now we have 6 for Friday. All right, so around 6 people. How many for Monday? $11 people for Monday. 12. Okay, so Monday it is then, huh? So based on majority, it's Monday. Now, we'll have to also discuss the timings for Monday's discussion session. I understand that morning hours will not be possible because we had to make this course slot free because one or the other people were having clashes. And in the afternoon, I've been told that for the undergraduates, there will be a lab from 3 o'clock, which typically would go till 4 or sometimes 4:30. Right? I mean, this is for the BTech students who have a lab. What time would suit you? You can speak
5 to 6 is fine.
5 to 6? Okay. So Abhishek says 5 to 6. Are we okay with the 5 to 6? Is there anyone who has issues with 5 to 6? I mean, I'm happy to do it a bit later as well. 6 to 7, 7 to 8. Remember this course will go till November.
5 to 6 is okay, sir.
5 to 6? All right. Right, so we'll keep it 5 to 6. Okay, 5 to 6 p.m. Don't get up early in the morning and wait for the lecture to start. Right, so we'll do it 5 to 6 every Monday, the discussion hour. And the lectures, as I said, will be uploaded on YouTube for you to view at your own convenience. But make sure you catch them up well in time. Don't leave it for Sunday midnight to view them all. We would want to have a good discussion in this discussion hour. Right. So lecture material and course. So I emailed you the course website. So this time we have a course website. Let me open that. Is there anyone who did not get the link to the course website? Right. So in case you would want to view the course website link, I'll upload it on Moodle. So Moodle is a place where you can go and view content. You don't need to be invited. So you can always go to Moodle and register for this course. Registrations open on Moodle. Right. So you can see the course website here on my screen. So this is the course website. It has an overview to the class for those who would want to know what this course is about. Then we have some material for recap. Now, this is particularly for those who have not done the undergraduate fluid mechanics and continuum mechanics recently. Even for the MTech students, there may be some time when you last visited your undergraduate fluid mechanics. I would strongly recommend you to please attend these lectures. Now, at least I will try to, before the session, before we do a lecture, I would tell you, or in YouTube, I'll put some description details as to which lectures you should definitely watch before going through the advanced 603 lecture. Because I will expect that you know these things. Okay, I'll not be hand-holding you and telling you every time that there's a strong velocity gradient inside a boundary layer as opposed to what happens outside the boundary layer. The rotation, the flow outside the boundary layer in many cases, in most cases, is irrotational. And what is irrotational, and so on. So these things will be expected from you to know. Okay, so you may find yourself lost in the beginning. So for that, I have put this material for recap. Okay, so if you click one of these links, for example, undergraduate fluid mechanics, it will open up a YouTube playlist which is based on the fluid mechanics lectures from the last semester that I taught. So since these lectures were taught by me, so it'll be whatever I'm referring to is definitely included in these lectures. If not, then in that case I will explain that separately. So I'll try to sometimes recap, but in most cases you'll be expected to know these things. The other course is continuum mechanics. Now I don't expect you to know each and every detail from this course, but there are many topics, especially the ones on the mathematics, which I'll expect you to know. Okay, I won't be teaching you the notation again from scratch because this is something that is expected from an undergraduate. If you haven't done continuum mechanics, which may be understandable in your undergraduate times, please use this playlist to watch the lectures. They're very easy. They're designed for a second-year undergraduate student, so I'm sure you will be able to catch them up. Okay, so please, instead of watching movies in the evening, watch continuum mechanics or fluid mechanics lectures to catch up. Right, so you'll feel much more happy in the future as they'll be helpful. Then we have the syllabus on this course website. So this syllabus I'll go through in a bit of a in some time in a bit of a detail. So I will revisit it, and then we have the resources available here in terms of the books that I'll be using for this course. So on this course website, I'll be uploading reading material that goes hand in hand with the week's lectures. So in case you would want to read more about the topic that we have discussed in the lecture, you can refer to the reading material. If I haven't put the material, feel free to interact with me and ask for material, because this course is not being taught from any textbook. Okay, it's an advanced course. It will be taught from many different books, and sometimes the content will be taken from somewhere other than these books, but mostly it will be from these books. Okay, so feel free to explore the books in your own time and get back to me. I would want to you to interact with me as much as possible in case you would want to know more about some material, or there's some topic that you particularly like and you would want to do further research or further projects on these things. So we can always talk about these things. Okay. Right. So this is the homepage for this website, and then we also have a page called 2021 session details. So this content that you have on the first homepage is a general content for the course, and then 2021 session detail is for this class. Okay, so I'll put up the class schedule now. So we'll have 3 lectures recorded on YouTube, and then we have Monday 5 to 6 p.m. as for the discussion hour. Now the evaluation is very granular. So we'll have lots of exams, and this is particularly helpful because in an online semester, sometimes it happens that you were not able to prepare well, you were not able to interact with your friends and understand the topic, you were not feeling well, there were some problems at home, and so on and so forth. So for this, the evaluation is granular. So in case you are not able to do well in a particular quiz, you'll have many others to improve your score and catch up. Okay, so we'll have 4 minor quizzes. Okay, I'll rename them. I'll call them A, B, C, D. It's easier to discern them from the major quizzes. So we have 4 minor quizzes, 10% each. All of them will be objective. Okay. So in an online semester, again, it's much easier for me to give you the exam if it's objective, and for you as well to write the exam if it's objective. Okay. Because I will not be able to check copies, subjective copies, because we have seen in the past that it's an open book exam with subjective stuff. We tend to copy from the notes or internet, and then the learning or the feedback that I'm able to get from what you're understanding from the course is much less as compared to objective exams. So we'll keep the exams objective mostly. Then we'll have 2 major quizzes. So these will be held during the quiz week or just a day before the quiz week, because it's slot-free course. And these exams will be subjective. Okay, so each major quiz will be 15% each, and they'll be they'll be subjective. So there will be some some subjective content where I will check how well you are able to solve the problems and do some work using pen and paper. Okay, so this particularly, I mean, you can expect things which are more mathematically mathematical in nature that I'll be testing here. So I'll test how you're able to solve the equations using mathematical tools and ideas. Right. So finally, towards the end, we'll have an NSEM exam, which will be 30% in weight. Now, in terms of the syllabus, we will, minor quizzes will have typically 3 to 5 lectures as their syllabus. Mostly it will be somewhere between those 3 to 5 lectures. So you won't be expected to read a lot for those minor quizzes. So these minor quizzes are supposed to check your regular progress and how well you're understanding the course. The major quizzes will have everything that's covered between this quiz and the previous one, if there was any quiz. And the NSEM exam will have the complete syllabus. Okay, it's important that in this course, you are able to understand everything towards the end so that you get that holistic, complete picture of what you have learned in the course. Okay, so the NSEM exam will be full syllabus, although it will only be 30% and objective. Do we have any questions or concerns about the evaluation pattern? Feel free to speak up. Now's the time. So that means we are all happy with the evaluation pattern. So we'll stamp it. Okay, approved. Good. Thank you very much. Now again, this may have been a bit confusing, this certainty-based marking. Okay. So for those who have not been through any of my previous courses, will find it new. But I won't say too much about it here. You read about it on this course website and then try to understand what it is. But I'll briefly tell you, it's like gambling. Okay, but of course, you're not gambling for marks. There is a lot of understanding that also goes here. So when you are gambling and when the stakes are high, then the rewards are also high. Okay, but if you are playing safe in gambling, then the rewards also are low. So C equal to 1 is like investing your money in a fixed deposit. C equal to 2 is like a mutual fund, and C equal to 3 is like daily trading. Okay, so you have to decide which one you would want to do. But here, just like trading, it depends on your understanding. So if I ask you that, is the velocity a vector or a scalar? Everybody has very high confidence it's a vector. So you would answer that with, you will tick on vector. We'll have an online forum on Moodle, and you will also tick on C equal to 3, high confidence. Okay, so you know it's very confident that it's correct. So you'll get 3 marks if it's correct. But if you mark it incorrectly with high confidence, you'll end up losing 6 marks. So we also check through this certainty-based marking as to how much confidence you have in a given answer. All right. So again, as I said, that if you have confusion about this, you can always talk to me later. But since the minor quiz is still 3 weeks away, then I'll talk more about it when the exam is about to approach. All right. So this is the course website. So rather than going to Moodle, which many people complained last time that they're using phones and Moodle is not very phone friendly. So this course website, this website will be updated with all the content, including lecture material, lecture slides, and everything. Okay, so I'll keep putting sections here and Google Drive links. You can click here and download the lectures. Lecture slides. Videos will be available on YouTube, so I'll put the YouTube playlist link here as well. Is there anything else that you would want to appear on the website here? I'll put the link to the website on Moodle. So in case you don't have the link, you can always go to Moodle and get that link. All right, good. So we're happy with that. Okay, this is lecture number 0. So I'm just telling you about the course material and content and so on. But any questions, feel free to stop me. Right. So in many situations, I would want to reach you with some information. So the way I'll reach you is through course mailing list. Okay. So this course mailing list is ME603 at students.itmandi. .ac.in. Okay, so that's the mailing list. I'll be using this to announce information to the whole class. Now it may happen that many students right now are not subscribed to the mailing list. So what I'll do is I'll put a link again on Moodle to subscribe yourself. So you can subscribe yourself on the mailing list, and then you'll be able to get all the emails. In case you subscribe late, even then you will be able to see all the previous conversations or all the previous announcements that have been made in the course on the Google Groups link. Okay, so this mailing list is nothing but a Google group. Okay, so this course mailing list is nothing but a Google group. Now I understand that many of you who are new to the institute will be confused as to what these things are. And now don't worry, you can talk to the others enrolled in the course and get help. Okay, so for that takes us to the next discussion topic, that is chat. Okay, so many of you have been using WhatsApp in the past, which is extremely inefficient in the sense that you can't create conversations, threads, and so on, and then the information is lost on those millions of chats. And if you lose your phone or something, everything is lost. Okay, so we have something called Google Chat. Is there anyone who has used Google Chat for academics or non-academic purposes in the past?
No, sir.
No one? So that's okay. So I sent an invitation to the course mailing list this morning. So I have created a room, which is ME603 2021, and I can see we already have 8 members. Okay, so this I don't know if you can see that. So this is an app where you can chat with each other. Okay, you can I'll also see the chat. You can see the members of that group, so you can talk individually to some particular person. You can share a file. You can put PDFs and files and so on. You can share links. You can create tasks that I don't know how useful that will be, and so on. Okay, so it's like WhatsApp, but you can also use it on computer, and that's particularly meant for this course. And the people who are joining this chat, I will make sure that they are enrolled from their college IDs. So you can't share it with non-members of this class. And everything, you can create threads. So one thread can be a course material, and then everybody posts there regarding course material. You can reply to somebody's post, and then third person can see all the details or all the messages that have been sent in the past, and you can also access that from your computer. Okay, so it's very, very effective, much effective than WhatsApp, at least for these academic discussion purposes. Okay, so please use Google Chat, and I will have to enroll you. Okay, so the way it will work is you will enroll yourself in the mailing list. Okay, and when you do that, I will enroll the mailing list automatically to the Google Chat. Okay. So let's take a week. This week is going to be quite hectic. Many people will be joining, leaving, and so on. So we might be a bit confused. But by the beginning of next week, if you still have issues getting emails from me or being a member of this chat, you let me know. Otherwise, you feel free to contact me separately regarding details of how to join all these forums. Okay. Any questions about Google Chat or forums for discussion? Okay, so we will not be encouraging the use of WhatsApp for this course. I mean, again, if you want to use it with your friends, feel free, but I will not be a part of that WhatsApp group. Right, assignments. So there will not be any assignment in this course. This is very, very theoretical. And I will see if any assignment is needed. But these discussion sessions are the ones where I'll be giving you sample problems or food for thought and so on, where you can note problems and then try it in your own time. I may say that this problem is very interesting. It has never been solved. Why don't you try it? Okay, I'll say that this problem is very interesting. It's a textbook problem apart from what you've done in the class. Why don't you try it? Okay, so this is how I'll be giving you problems to try. But this course is very theoretical. So if you think with the lectures, that will be quite helpful. So this is not those undergraduate courses where you are expected to solve lots of problems to be able to understand things. Okay, it's trying to, if you are applying a new method, think about what other methods have been available. Can I apply some other method? Let's try it. Does it even work for these kind of equations and so on? Okay, so you have to ask these questions to yourself, discuss it with your friends or discuss with me. So this is how you learn more in this kind of a 6-level course. All right, so next is we should be clear about expectations. So my expectations from you. Okay, as I always say, I want you to enjoy this course. Okay, so if you are not able to enjoy the course, then there was no point doing this course. For most of you, it's an elective course. So what was the point of doing an elective if you're not enjoying it? Okay, I'll try my best to make sure that you get everything to be able to understand the course and enjoy it. If I'm not doing my job properly, feel free to speak up to me, and I'll be happy to address that. You can tell me in the interaction session with everyone around, or you can email me separately if that is what you prefer. Okay, but it's very, very important that you enjoy. Don't let this course become a burden. Otherwise, you will. There's no point doing this course, right? So that's the only expectation I have from you. Is there anything that you expect from me? Nothing? That's okay. Just let me know in the future if there's anything. You can speak up. That's okay. You can tell me later. Huh? Good. Right. So prerequisites for this course. So as I discussed, the prerequisites we have for this course, major prerequisites are undergraduate fluid mechanics. You don't require undergraduate heat transfer for this course. Then you also require continuum mechanics. Okay, continuum mechanics typically is not a course which is taught in undergraduate in all the universities. So for that, I have put up the lectures on the course website. So feel free to go through them in your own time. But try to finish them in the first 1 or 2 weeks, so that the future, when we go to very advanced material, you're able to comfortably understand the stuff. Okay, next is engineering mathematics. It's very, very important. This course is quite mathematical, so you should definitely revise your engineering mathematics. There may be a couple of topics that are linear algebra. Okay, if that was not a part of engineering maths course, at IIT Mandi we have a separate course. Okay, so typically topics like differential equations, okay, partial differential equations. Now, if you've not done it, don't worry. We'll discuss it in the class. Then some sort of transforms like Fourier series and transforms. So if you have not done it, most of the universities have these topics in their engineering maths courses. If you haven't done it, don't worry. I will be able to share material with you where you can quickly go and understand these topics. They're very intuitive. There's not this. I mean, if you have done every other topic in maths, including analysis, then you should have no problems understanding these topics. Right. So these are things that you would be expected to know when I'm teaching this course. I will not stop and say that before we solve the equation, let us talk about how separation of variables is done to solve differential equations. Okay, this is something that we'll assume we understand that, and we'll start teaching that. Okay. Any concerns or questions about prerequisites? All right. Next is feedback. Okay. So there are two kinds of feedbacks in this course. One is the feedback that I give to you, and the other is the feedback that you give to me. Okay. The way I give feedback to you is through the exams, mostly. So when you'll have quizzes, in those quizzes, based on the marks that you're getting, that's a feedback from me to you as to how well you are doing in the course, how well you're understanding the material. Okay, that's the major way I give feedback to you. And the way you give me feedback is again through those exams. So if I see statistically that most of you are getting 20% as an average in an exam, then that's a feedback from you to me that I'm not doing my job properly. Okay, so if the whole class on an average is getting very low marks, then that means that I'm asking you questions which are beyond your understanding, or I'm not teaching those topics well. Okay, so the quizzes serve both purposes, me giving you feedback and you giving me feedback. Now you can also give me feedback in terms of how well I'm teaching the course, even before I mean you start doing worse in the exams. You can give me feedback by sending emails or raising an issue during the discussion hours. The other way I'll be organizing feedbacks is I'll be having two feedbacks on Google Forms. Okay, I've done it in the past as well in my courses. So in these Google Forms, one of them will be sent just after quiz 1. Okay, major quiz 1, and the other one will be sent after quiz 2. This way I will get some feedback from you as to how well I am doing in terms of, so we'll have questions where you will be able to answer those on a scale of 1 to 5 and so on. So that way I'll get some feedback as to how well the course is going. Okay. But feel free to give feedback anytime during the course. Right, just a second. Huh? Right. So we have discussed almost everything, and we are we still have 10 minutes before we finish the lecture. So now let's talk about what 603 is about. So one needs to understand what is going to be contained in this course. Okay, is it going to be something which is going to be an extension of what we have done in the past, or are we expected to learn some new ideas in this course? Okay, so let's discuss that. So before that, I would want to do a quick recap as to what you people have done in your undergraduate fluid mechanics. Okay, so every undergraduate course in fluid mechanics starts with some basic ideas. Okay, so we'll do a quick recap of undergraduate fluid mechanics. So every course starts with some basic definitions and some basic, what is a fluid, and so on. So many very fundamental ideas are discussed in the beginning, which you require some sort of comfort with those ideas before we can teach you other topics. So we call it introductory topics. So what is theory, what is experiments, what is empirical correlation, what is a fluid, what is viscosity, what is shear stress, what is shear strain rate or rate of strain, and all these ideas are discussed in the very basic fundamental ideas. And then you go to actual fluid mechanics, where first we start with integral ideas. Okay, so this is where you learned about Reynolds transport theorem. Okay, so instead of understanding what's happening at each and every point inside the fluid, you try to understand the fluid system as a whole. Okay, so you make control volumes. So these control volumes, when you make them, or when you the hypothetical volumes in the fluid flow domain, let's say it's a pipe. So in a pipe, you will choose a control volume which coincides with the complete portion of the pipe, or some cross section, or some region in the pipe, and then you apply the conservation of mass, momentum, or energy to these control volumes. So from there we get some integral information. So what is the total force acting on the pipe, okay, or what is the overall change in temperature of the temperature inlet and temperature outlet? So what is the difference in the temperatures, or how much mass is flowing out if you have multiple pipe breaking into multiple parts, and so on. So these are the integral ideas you learn. So overall drag force on a pipe, overall lift force on some aerofoil, and so on, because these are control volume ideas. And then from there we slowly start graduating towards differential ideas. Okay. So what's happening at in this pipe, what's happening at this point P with time? So I would want to know the velocity at this point P as a function of time, or I would want to know the velocity at all the points in this region. So the complete velocity field is what I need at all the points at all times. I want to know the pressure at all the positions in the pipe and at all times, and so on. Okay, so this is obtained through solution of differential equations. So the continuity equation, the Navier-Stokes equation. So these equations are developed, they are derived using some ideas. Using Reynolds transport theorem, applying that to an infinitesimal volume, or using some sort of continuum mechanics ideas. But you get these equations, and then very briefly we learn how to solve them for very, very simple situations. Like you would have learned how to solve the Couette flow problem. Okay, so solving them for a channel. So a channel with the top channel is moving with a velocity v, with the speed v, and the bottom one is fixed. So what will be the flow profile? So it's linear. You learn that. Or the Poiseuille flow problem, here you have both channels fixed, but there is dp by dx, pressure difference, high pressure at the inlet, low pressure at the outlet, and then we see that we get some sort of a parabolic flow profile in this channel or a pipe. The Hagen-Poiseuille flow, where you have a circular cross section, duct, and so on. Okay, so these were obtained as solutions to the differential equations, but these are very simple cases. Okay? And then once we have developed some sort of integral and differential relations, then we start, because it's an undergraduate course, so we start applying it to ducts. Okay? The engineer's problem of pipe flows, internal flows. Find out what pressure drop is required, how big a pump I require to produce some sort of volume flow rate in a given diameter of a pipe. Okay, so all these relations where you use Moody charts and so on, you would want to understand how your pump is designed, or the other way around. I mean, if you have a given pump, how much flow rate will be created, and so on. And then the next topic is boundary layer phenomena. This is where you learn about boundary layers, but it's called external flows. A Ferrari car is being designed, so you would want to know what's the best shape of the car. Well, I've drawn an aeroplane, but let's say it's aeroplane. Okay, so what's the most aerodynamic shape of an aeroplane so that the drag force is minimized? So minimum drag force. Okay, so these external flows where we learned that if you have, let's say, a flat plate, then there is some region where you have strong velocity gradients or rotationality, and outside that you have irrotational flow or the potential flow region. Okay, so this is what you learn in boundary layers, and then finally towards the end you learn about potential flow. In many cases this is not discussed, but this is where you understand that how do you understand what's happening in the outside of the boundary layer region or the potential flow region. So this is where you solve the Laplace's equation for stream function or the Laplace's equation for the velocity potential, and then you use the idea of superposition to find the solutions to different flow situations in the potential flow region. Okay, so this is typically what a fluid mechanics course entails in undergraduate times. So this course, this 603 Advanced Fluid Mechanics, is going to have both a mix of extension of ideas and introducing new ideas. Okay, so let me quickly open the course website again. Let's see if I still have it. Okay, I'm sure you can see the screen clearly. Right, so this course will start with introduction. So the first 1 week is going to be simply an some sort of revision of undergraduate fluid mechanics. So we'll very quickly revise, but of course I may throw in some new ideas, but mostly it's going to be an introduction. So talking about fluid properties, integral differential approaches, streamlines, streak lines, stream functions, vorticity, laminar and turbulent flow, viscous flows, and examples of these kind of flows. So we in this course will be interested only in the viscous flow region. Okay, so inside the boundary layer, we don't want to go outside the boundary layer because that becomes potential flow region, and this course is simply about viscous flow theory. Okay, so we'll always be talking about the boundary layer region. So for example, if you have a developing flow in a pipe, so in the beginning you know that the boundary layers develop until they hit each other from both sides or from all the sides in the center, and then the flow is completely viscous throughout the pipe. Okay, so we'll be interested in that viscous flow region, not the entry length region in the pipe. Okay, next the next 2 weeks, so weeks 2 and 3 will be a lot of continuum mechanics. So people who have done continuum mechanics, for them it may be a quick revision as well. So here we'll talk about kinematics and equations of motion. We'll talk about the continuum concept, the tensor notation, the Eulerian and Lagrange description, strain rate tensor, vorticity tensor, and the idea of circulation. So continuum mechanics, people may see a couple of new ideas because this is continuum mechanics with a perspective of fluid mechanics, and people who have not done continuum mechanics, for them this will be all new stuff. You may have seen the initial notation or some stress and strain in your solid mechanics courses, but I'll again strongly suggest that you pay special attention to these lectures if you have not done continuum mechanics in the past. Okay, we'll talk about Cauchy stress tensor, continuity equation, Navier-Stokes equation. We derive all the equations here. We'll talk about the Stokes hypothesis, which is very important for fluid mechanicists. We'll talk about special cases, so steady flow, irrotational flow, and so on and so forth. We'll talk about the idea of conservative and non-conservative forms of the equations, boundary conditions, cylindrical coordinates, spherical coordinates, and then we'll talk about the control volume formulation of these equations. Okay, so this is the first 3 weeks are going to be recap, but that is when the real stuff starts. So in topic number 3, which is exact solution of Navier-Stokes equations, those two simple situations of channel flows. In the past, you have learned about, as I discussed, the Couette flow where the top plate is moving, or the Poiseuille flow where there's a pressure drop. You did very simple cases, but now we'll talk about situations where you will have, for example, the pressure gradient that we're talking about is going to be, for example, you have a Couette flow problem where the top plate is moving, but in addition, you also have a pressure gradient. Okay, so that complicates the situation. Or your pressure gradient is oscillating with time. That brings in some sort of oscillation which has some sort of offset. It takes the oscillation effect to percolate in the flow, some depth of penetration, and so on. So these ideas will, very interesting ideas will come up, and the mathematics also will be quite interesting. We'll talk about, for example, the top flow in the Couette flow problem. The top flow is also top plate is oscillating. Okay. So then, what sort of flow profile will I get at a certain depth? All right. So these kind of ideas we'll talk about, like a couple of problems, and each problem we'll solve first mathematically using some new mathematical idea, and then towards the end we'll discuss the some sort of physical or mathematical understanding of the solution and how that is intuitive, or if not, then how does that evolve our intuition for those kind of problems. Okay, then we'll move on to boundary layer analysis, 2 weeks on that. So in the past, if you remember your undergraduate fluid mechanics, you would have developed the boundary layer equations. So these equations are slightly different from the full Navier-Stokes equations, because these equations have some sort of directionality. Okay, even though it's a steady state boundary layer we're talking about, but even then one of the coordinates behaves like a time coordinate. So things march in time. Okay, so we'll talk about those ideas, how one spatial coordinate behaves like a time coordinate in boundary layer equations. We'll talk about the idea of similarity. Many of you would have learned it in undergraduate fluid mechanics, but how to take a problem from a two-dimensional partial differential equation problem to a one-dimensional ODE, ordinary differential equation, and then solve it using the ODE ideas. Okay, we'll also talk about some advanced ideas here. So these 2 weeks will be completely on boundary layer analysis. Okay, then we'll have a very, very interesting topic called stability. Okay, so when you talked about when you learn about turbulence, it is told to you that turbulence, when the Reynolds number increases beyond a particular value, let's say it's around 8,000 in a pipe, then what happens is that disturbances, tiny disturbances because of the pump that you're using, some oscillations because of pump, or the walls have some roughnesses, so when the fluid molecules hit them, they get some random velocities. So these disturbances, they start growing with time, and after some time you have a completely chaotic flow. Even though the flow is going in a pipe from left to right, you may see that some y and z velocities also start appearing, which are almost 20% in magnitude of your x velocity in the flow. So this is turbulence, okay? Randomness in the flow appearing from these disturbances growing. So this is a physical phenomena, and we have the Navier-Stokes equation that describes this flow. But what we also see, what you may have learned, is that even these equations mathematically have some instability in it. So if you are solving the equation using a computer mathematically, you will see that beyond that critical Reynolds number, the mathematical nature of the equation also becomes chaotic. So this helps us use well-defined ideas, mathematical stability ideas, to find out at what Reynolds number will the flow become critical. You learn how to use linearizing the nonlinear equations, and this is called the hydrodynamic stability theory, where you will be able to learn about the transitioning of the flow to turbulence through mathematical ideas. Earlier, you have been told that is through experiments how people figure out what the critical Reynolds number is. Now you can actually do it from theoretical ideas. Okay, so this is a very, very advanced topic. So we'll touch upon it in a week, and then we'll go to turbulence. Okay, again, viscous flow theory. So we're interested in the eddy viscosity that's created because of turbulence, the mixing that turbulence creates, the dissipation that turbulence creates in a much more advanced level as compared to what you've learned in undergraduate times. Okay. Towards the last week, we'll have a special topic. This special topic is different for different lecturers. I'll be teaching non-Newtonian flow. So these are complex flows where the viscosity of the fluid is not linear. So it could be like a toothpaste or ketchup. So as the shear stress increases, the viscosity decreases. So ketchup, for example, if you're trying to pour, it does not come out. But if you hit it very hard, a lot of ketchup comes out. Okay, that's because the fluidity of, which is the inverse of viscosity, the fluidity of ketchup increases as the stress increases. It's not a constant. The viscosity changes with shear stress. Right. So this is what this course is going to be about. Okay, so we are out of time now. So I'll stop, and then I'll discuss further ideas and details as we start the course in the next in this week through introduction. Do we have any questions? Are we happy with the course content? Is there anybody who wants further explanation before they enroll for the course and so on? Okay, right. So my final message in this introductory lecture number 0 is that please don't give up. Okay, so in this course, many a times, I mean, especially for the people who are just starting their master's degree, you may feel that this course is very difficult as compared to the kind of courses you've done in the undergraduate times. Okay, it is expected to be like that because this is a master's 6-level course. If it was a repetition of everything that you have done, then this won't be called an advanced course. So there may be times where you will not understand anything, but don't give up. Stay with it and keep talking to your friends, keep discussing with your friends. That's how you learn from each other. And then talk to me, and I'm sure you may start understanding things at a later time. But when you understand them, sometimes you understand things in a course after the course is over. After 1 or 2 semesters, when you start doing experiments in the lab, that is when you realize, oh, that is exactly what non-Newtonian viscosity was about. Okay, so these things sometimes may you may understand them much later, but don't give up. Right, so I'll stop the recording now. If somebody has other questions, I'm happy to answer them.